So welcome everyone. I think this is our second session of Quincus Talks. Thank you for everyone for attending, and I am pretty honored to cover a very, very special topic today. So we'll be covering creating spaces for females in supply chain. We have an awesome panel, and we'll just sort of jump right into it. Let me quickly introduce everyone first. So we'll start with Dr. Hanane Becha, and I apologize in advance if I butchered the name. I'll do my best. So Dr. Hanane Becha, she comes from the United States Center for Trade Facilitation and Electronics Business. She is their Vice Chair of Transport and Logistics Domain. We also have Dana van der Heide, who comes from Parcel Perform. She is their founder and Chief Commercial Officer. And then also we have Mei Yi Peng. She's the Vice President, Head of Asia Pacific at DHL Consulting. And our very own Katherina-Olivia, co-founder and Chief Product Officer of Quincus. My name is James. I am the Head of People Talent here at Quincus, and it's really great to meet all of you. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to some. So we'll go right into it. I guess we have several topics that we just want to cover today, and look forward to get your thoughts on them. So we'll jump right into it. The first question that we would love to sort of get started on is, what brings you guys to the supply chain industry? And Dr. Hanane, if you can start first, that'd be fantastic.
Good morning, good evening to all of you. Thanks a lot for this presentation. I'm participating today as CEFACT Transport and Logistic Domain Vice Chair. Personally, I have a background in computer science, so nothing was prepared or planned to join the transport and logistics and the shipping industry in particular. Just a couple of coincidences, met some people in this industry and end up being active in this particular industry. Definitely today, we don't really have to have a seagoing background to join the shipping industry. And that's, I think, one of the main messages. I did already work with the telecom, healthcare domains, and shipping industry is like any other industry. We need computer science, we need different other technologies to innovate, to enhance, and to make sure that the business operations are going well and taking advantage of all the possible technologies. So computer science background, and here I am in the shipping industry.
Hey, fantastic. Ms. van der Heide, I guess, we'd love to go next.
Thank you so much for having me, first of all. Very exciting round. Maybe a little bit of background about me. Also, nothing to do with logistics originally. I studied psychology and communication science. But I joined a company that some of the panelists are very familiar with, DHL. Back then, I started as a trainee, so I was really green, didn't know anything about logistics, but they gave me the opportunity to jump through different departments, and I ended up being in corporate strategy at DHL, responsible for the e-commerce strategy and the rollout of a new business unit. And that brought me to Asia, but then ultimately also showed me that there's a need for more innovation and technology in especially the last mile of logistics. And that's why I started Parcel Perform about 5 years ago, where I'm the founder and chief commercial officer.
Awesome, welcome. Thank you. Ms. Mei Yi Peng, I guess you can go next.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to be in a panel discussion where I don't have to go ladies first, because there are many other ladies in front of me, so that's nice. So I am Singaporean. I grew up in Singapore, actually accountant by training. Stumbled into logistics and supply chain really after an MBA. At a time where logistics was a very interesting space where everyone's acquiring everyone, trying to form an end-to-end supply chain for the sector. So I stumbled upon DHL Consulting at that time, and during the last 15 years, did a small stint on innovation. So Dana, absolutely hear what you're saying. I set up the Singapore Asia Pacific Innovation Center for DHL. and now back in DHL Consulting, really trying to help companies to look at logistics in a totally different way, in a more digitalized manner, in a more innovative manner, leveraging more of technologies that we see out there today. And it's still, after 15 years, a very exciting space.
Awesome. Good, great to know that. Kat.
So I feel like all of us have kind of like fell into the logistics space. You know, we drove in, we were just like, yes, this is for us. Myself also, I don't come from a logistic background. I was actually going down the academic route. So I was going towards research and marketing and all that. And it came across from an experience back in, before I did my MBA. And I realized while I was working in a warehouse that I was really fascinated by everything to do with, like, you know, the inventory, also having drivers come by at a specific hour, leaving if we were not ready, and then another set of drivers coming by to pick that up if, you know. So I was wondering, like, there has to be a better way of doing this, but I didn't realize at that moment that that was going to be the case until I met my co-founder Jonathan at INSEAD, and we both decided, you know, let's run off into the sunset and start a business and let's solve a problem. And then even then it didn't come to us that we wanted to do logistics until we really were like, okay, well, we want to solve a problem with his many degrees and everything. So we were just like, let's look into something that we both experienced and that we both enjoy doing. And the logistics space was actually something that was very fascinating and was very fragmented and still fragmented, and not as, at that time, not very sexy. So we're like, let's give it a facelift.
Okay, so it seems to be a trend here that everybody didn't come from logistics, right? So it's fair to say that. So leading to the next question is, I guess, what made you guys decide to stay and also continue on in the logistics sector? Then I if you don't mind going first.
Sure, of course. So yeah, obviously, you know, I looked from the inside out. So I was with DHL for quite a long time, and I saw, you know, how important logistics is specifically for the success of businesses. So, you know, especially if you look at e-commerce, which is what we're dealing with, if you shop somewhere and the stuff doesn't arrive, you sometimes blame the carrier, but you mostly blame the website, so you wouldn't actually buy there again. So I just realized that logistics is such a critical factor to the success of many, many businesses out there for different reasons, but specifically for e-commerce, which was on the rise, but so complex and yet also so intransparent. So similar to Kat, probably giving things a facelift, bringing more transparency into a rather intransparent market, but not just for the sake of logistics. For me, is really to see the impact it can have on a business and the long-term success. That was what moved me and keeps fascinating us to find better solutions for everyone that needs logistics to be successful in the long run.
Okay. May?
Somewhat having the same story as Dana. You know, logistics seems to be oftentimes the unsung heroes of businesses. You know, when nothing goes wrong, people forget about it, and when something goes wrong, the logistics carriers or the supply chain department gets a lot of attention. Especially we see that in the last year during the pandemic, where many businesses got affected by the supply chain. So that's very fascinating. The second point is I've been very lucky to be in a company and a business that has many aspects of logistics at play that brings in you know, novelty wherever I go, doing different projects for the business. And also a company that really values talent and giving people different opportunities along the way, giving people global opportunities to move around with the business, like Dana mentioned before. I myself have lived in Germany, in Singapore, and you know, progressively also constantly getting opportunities to explore new areas and venture into new topics that I may not necessarily be exposed to should I be in a different space.
Okay. Very, very cool. Very cool. Kat?
So I mean, I've stayed in it for exactly the same reasons as the others, and I'm pretty sure the more, what I love about it is that the more problems you uncover, the more you can put technology to it, and that's what makes me kind of go, okay, I'm not done yet. You know, I want to find all these little pieces, and what drives me is also the internal problems. So of course, you know, like May said, you know, no one blames the delivery person when they get the package, but the moment when, you know, things hit the fan, that's when they're like, okay, you know, whose fault was it? Why didn't we get, you know, like with the times now, why didn't we get the vaccines? Is it the supplier? Is it the delivery person, the delivery company? Is it the delivery driver? What went wrong? And all these little things add up to a reason. So there has to be a solution, which then makes me kind of go, well, you know what, I want to solve it. So that's really why I stay in the industry.
Continue to solve problems. Fantastic. Yeah. Dr. Hanane?
I have a passion about standards, and I have a passion about innovations. And I really like collaborating with people. I really like interacting. When I did join, when I started working on computer science, I was not happy with being always in front of the computer alone, coding and solving problems in my corner. And I really like collaboration, meeting people, working together. And I believe that we need different skills, different backgrounds to challenge each other and evolve as a team. And when I did join the shipping industry, I did notice, as you did, a very fragmented, very complex ecosystem, self-organizing ecosystem. And coming from Nortel Networks, which was one of the leading companies in delivering telecommunication services, we had very strong and understanding of the importance of standards and innovation. So I joined the shipping industry as a technical writer, defining products, defining services, but I had in mind that standards is key. That was very, very important. And basically, I did join CEFACT with one mission is really to work on standards and to show how standards are important and collaboration is important to innovate. I did propose a project to the CEFACT back in 2016, and literally that was the first project about standards for smart container for IoT. So a new technology, emerging concepts of all this end-to-end visibility collaboration. And that project turns out very, very successful and very, we did attract literally all the players of the supply chain. And that gives me even more boost and more willingness to put more efforts into this standardization collaboration efforts. I got much more heavily involved in different organizations, leading different projects. And I got recognized by becoming the vice chair of that CEFACT Transport and Logistics. I joined as well other collaboration efforts, mainly Digital Container Shipping Association, shaping tomorrow supply chain, trying to make it more resilient, more eco-friendly, more collaborative, greener. What else? So this is really important, making an impact. Efficient, resilient, sustainable logistic chain could be possible using new technologies. And for me, that cannot be done when we talk about digitalization. It's not just about making the process digitalized. It's really about thinking and what is best to automate that particular process. So I'm really happy and excited to make more idea more tangible happening and working with the different players of the ecosystem. And literally when it comes to smart container in particular, we are working with the whole ecosystem. So smart container technologies has something to do for the beneficial cargo owner, for the shipping line, for the enhancing terminal operations, making sure that even customs and cross borders agencies could take advantage of that technology. So for me, advertising or promoting smart container technologies and working with different key actors of the supply chain, this is very, very exciting. And I see the trends just progressing in a good way and getting more people involved and interested about standards. So when I did proposed that smart container project. I start my first meetings having probably 10 or 15 participants. And at the end of the project, we were like more than 50, 60 participants on the call. Today, literally, we did attract all the IT providers to the new project called Track and Trace, CEFACT cross industry supply chain track and trace. And we are working with different organizations, and that's just exciting, making sure that we gain momentum, we are making a difference, and we have an impact in the long run.
Okay. It sounds like there's a lot of solutions. Obviously, there's a lot of challenges along the way, right? So, great segue into the next question. I guess in terms of challenges faced, like what have you guys faced throughout your career in terms of overall challenges across supply chain? May, if you don't mind starting us off.
Sorry, can you say it again?
Yeah, so I guess the question would be, what challenges have you faced throughout your career in the supply chain industry?
In connection to the topic of today, not really, but supply chain is a challenging environment. There's many stakeholders. It's extremely fragmented. There's problems everywhere. Things are not connected. As much as we like to deploy IoT and data analytics everywhere, it is still a difficult environment to sync up all the parts together. And supply chain traditionally is very country focused business as well, very fragmented and country focused. There's lots of cultural aspects involved. And many, if I think about the industry, for most parts, it is really learning by doing and going up the ranks by working in a warehouse and progressing from there. And because it is a hard and tough industry, it's pretty much often dominated by men. Many of the management levels within my company, at least, really grew, as a management trainee, some of them, but many of them are from the operations and really got promoted over the years to get to the management level. That is very valued by the business to have someone in a leadership position that knows the operations inside out. And because of that, I think the proportion of women in leadership that could get to those senior levels, not even talking about the fact that women often have to leave the career to start and take care of family and coming back missing the prime period in their lives where others are really climbing the ladder. The nature of the business itself is just a demanding role physically for many parts of our organization. So that results in a pretty dominated men environment. Personally, I have always been in a corporate role, and there I would say that it's not so much me seeing any glass ceiling or whatnot, but oftentimes, especially as a woman in an Asian culture, I do need to shout out pretty loud, and I'm pretty short. I need to stand up pretty tall to get myself heard in board meetings and in key decision discussions within my organization.
Kat, how about yourself?
So we have a thing where we actually go and drive with drivers. It's in order to get us actual feedback on whether our mobile app is working properly, whether the drivers can actually use it, is it productive for them, etc. And one of the things, especially in emerging markets, it is quite difficult to be a woman and go with these drivers, into areas that we do not know. Like areas that may be a little bit, the drivers, already we got to applaud them for going into the middle of nowhere and, coming out and being there. But there are horror stories of things that have happened to drivers, unfortunately. And, and when you are a woman and you go and do that, and you ride along, for example, I ride along for maybe 6 hours, but I don't do that on a day-to-day basis. But I think it's amazing the women that are drivers in our world and that actually do that for a living. It's fantastic because it's something that, why can't women, apart from a lot of people saying that we can't drive as women, I know a lot of men that can't drive. So I think it's great that, you know, we should promote more female drivers to be drivers. And also these are just the small little things in terms of the culture that we have at Quincus. We're very pro women to join the supply chain, as well as women that are not from the industry, or male for that matter. We like to promote that, you know, you're bringing diversity as well as a new form of problem solving into the industry, and that for us is more important than your gender.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Dr. Hanane? I think you're on mute.
That was me?
Yes.
Thank you. May did highlight very well all the challenges that we have in the domain. I totally agree with her, and I'm totally aligned with her. For me, all the challenges, these are actually opportunities. So definitely this fragmented, male-dominated, self-organized ecosystem domain, that's what makes it even more appealing. And I think we have to be very, very, perseverance is very key here to make sure that to be heard. Actually, I cannot just yell and get heard, even though I'm not that short. I think it takes time to educate, to convince, and to show and lead by examples. This is how it works, at least for me, when it's consensus and getting support from other partners and key players and colleagues is very important. So as long as we don't need any muscles for me, I think all the jobs should be based on merit and nothing gender-based. And I think the mix of skills and approaches and the way having a diverse workspace is very important to have very efficient operations. So diversity is important, and the shipping line domain and the shipping industry is really not different. And it's quite complex, and I think there is a huge opportunity to bring different technologies, different, you mentioned artificial intelligence, we mentioned IoT, we could add to that blockchain, etc., and mixing different data sources, making operations better. And that will not be happening without having a balanced workforce.
Okay, thank you. And Dana, how about yourself, I guess?
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely agree on everything that has been said. Maybe another interesting aspect is also, you know, starting a logistics company, or in our case, a log tech, so technology company in logistics as a woman, has a whole different new sets of challenges. And I think I agree. So obviously we have to be at least equally smart to win it. But I think obviously, you know, it's a very male-dominated area, and I always think that having the right support system around you and, you know, people that realize their bias is super important. When I started my startup journey, everyone told me it's a terrible idea and that we will never make it, literally everyone. So if I would have listened to them, we would probably not be where we are. So I think it's extremely important that we kind of build an ecosystem around us with like talks like today to motivate ourselves. And, you know, a lot of the bias, for example, in our case, and I'm sure Kat and even May and all of us, we see this, right? We try to approach people in the logistics domain. And obviously, you know, in 90% of all cases, this is just a reality. I'm talking to old white male, right? And, you know, the times where I went to a conference and someone said, oh, how do you like your internship? And I'm like, no, this is my company. Or, you know, people have this like really funny biases. And I think one thing that I learned is that you probably need to build up a team around you that supports this. So not just having females across all functions, but also having the males support that it's normal to have a female founder, maybe also in this area. So, you know, my co-founder consciously sometimes in a discussion goes, you know, oh, why don't you ask Dana? She would know, you know, just to point people to it. If we go to a conference, you know, my sales team is also male, right? So then people assume that they're the boss and not me, and I just work at the booth. So like my guys kind of consciously go, hey, you know, she's actually the founder, you should talk to her and not sugarcoat me. So I think a lot of the challenges are also just being aware of the bias and building a team around you that supports that. And I don't think it can just be woman driven, but I see more and more, and I realize more and more actually is the guys that need to lift us up, you know, and if for them it's not surprising that a woman comes, or they don't act surprised, but like they take it as a normal thing to do, then I think it's a lot easier for all of us.
Yeah, I agree. I've actually been in that situation where they thought I was the assistant, you know, many times.
Yeah.
And my co-founder has always pushed me forward and said, you know what, she's got this. She understands the consumer. She understands the people better. Like, you know, you can talk to her them. And I always laugh because they always look quizzical and they're like, wait, what's going on? And I think another thing that women have to do is just actually not care, just move forward, actually talk with confidence and assertiveness and be like, I'm here to stay. You either work with me or you don't. I mean, there should be no shame in also saying to a customer, I'm sorry, I don't want to work with you because, you know, you can't accept me as a female founder or somebody in the corporate, a woman in the corporate world. It should be the same attitude. So I agree with you, Dana. I think it's exactly, I think we've experienced many similar things.
And totally agree that we need to claim space, yes, but we need men to lift us up and to give us that space as well. Yeah. We cannot just do it by ourselves. There is a balance there, give and take. It's really needed for balance. Yeah. And all these jokes are really reality. And I would like to join you, telling you I had a few experiences in that sense as well. Literally, they will look to the other person just because he's male or he has some gray hair. And what my joke was, to be taken seriously, you probably have to start putting some white meshes or something to make sure that I'm older and they need to be respected as well. So age and the way that we look, basically, and gender is a clear, how to say that, a clear way to, some people are getting biased or expecting we are able or not able to do the job, basically. Yeah.
So there's obviously a clear gender gap, right? And obviously there is support. It seems like there's been support given to everyone here. So I guess with that, like, what's next for women in this industry? It seems like things are progressing well. We know what the gaps are. We know what the challenges are. What's next for women in the supply chain industry? Kat, what are your thoughts?
Actually, I think we're still far away from where we have to go. So I think there's a lot to work on, and we need to keep on powering through it and breaking it down and making sure that, like, you know, we create the environments that we need in order to lift us, as everyone here agrees on. But more importantly, it's to encourage women, to encourage other women. I love women who code. You know, that women who code and join the company and actually want to improve the supply chain, it doesn't only have to be male dominated. So a lot of other roles that fit into what the logistics space needs, they should also be encouraging women to come to come and work for companies like ourselves.
Absolutely. May?
Yeah, just to add on to that, I love women who code too, and I'm struggling to hire them. 1 in 10 people who can code is a woman. So we're just really having a huge talent fight there for people like that. So no, I think there are things that we as individuals, women in comradeship need to do. Attending conferences like this, organizing one. I'm attending a Girls in Tech reverse mentoring program next week, which I'm looking forward to. It will be fun, but really sort of individually doing our part to encourage this informal, activities happening. At a corporate level, DHL we do have a very serious diversity agenda, particularly to the topic of women in leadership. We do have a corporate target of 30% by 2025. I think companies, if they're serious about things like this, they need to set targets, and that's how companies work, right? You set a target, you get it done, and you move the entire organization of 500 million people to get there. And behind that targets are then entire programs that needs to be rolled out to help us achieve that. I just learned yesterday from my boss that I am getting a woman in leadership target and a hiring target as well for women. So targets are very important. And systematically, I think governments are at a different level across the world. I think in Germany, what I know is that there are more equal treatment for men and women when it comes to having families, and how do we then take turns between the father and mother to then take maternity leave or paternity leave that is shared between the two. Out here in Asia, I think we're still not there yet. Male gets 2 weeks, and we think that's great because it's gone up from 3 to 2 weeks in the last 10 years. But women get a bit more, and so there's a fundamental expectation that women is the one who stay home and take care of the kids and make sure that the family units still functions, and that by itself makes it difficult for businesses to treat that equality fairly. I, as a woman leader, also struggle with that, to allow to have someone that has some years out of the business to then have a equal standing with someone that has worked day night for 5 years to get the same level, because they just simply don't have the same experience. So I think there's a lot to do. We are not there yet. We set 30% as a target for 2025. That's 30% for 50% of us in the population. So by no means we are there yet, but we need to start somewhere. Interestingly, just some stats from a DHL standpoint, Asia seems to be doing generally better than the other regions for some reasons that I don't have answers to. I think there's also a question across the region, how do we see it? But there are some markets in Asia where women plays quite a much bigger role compared to the other regions when it comes to being leaders in businesses and being out in the workforce supporting the family.
Okay. Dana, what are your thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, no, totally agree. So, having a target is fantastic. And obviously, we are super ambitious and we want to have 50% women. And interestingly enough, it was a lot easier for us to achieve in Asia than it is for me in Europe, which is a bit, counterintuitive from what May just said, where it's supposed to be more equal when it comes to pregnancy leave and whatever. But I actually saw also a huge cultural impact, we have a big team in Vietnam with all of our developers. It's much easier to find women there. We have female back-end developers and stuff like that. In Singapore, obviously super international, that also seemed to have been a lot easier than what we're doing, for example, in Germany at the moment. And I think, as much as I have a target for myself, obviously to have at least 50% women, and if I can more, I think the reality of things is I don't have enough applicants, there's not enough women coming in or being confident in being able to do the job that they would actually apply. So we went to actually, reach out to them. So I do a lot of active kind of reach out, and I make sure that I usually do it only to women to at least get to equal levels in my applicant pipeline.
1 in 10,
but
Dana.
even then, 1 in 10, if not less, depending on the function that you have, is crazy. And so, I also feel a little bit for some companies, because these targets are hard to achieve, and I want to avoid that you hire women just because you needed them. We also have to make sure that we don't have the bias of, hiring people, although, the other candidate was better. So for me, running a business, it's a hard balance to do, because I want to be fair to everyone that applies and not just have a reverse gender bias, but at the same time, we need to encourage more women. So I think one of the key factors for me that I always come across is that we just need more role models. For every woman I hire, we at least try to promote her on our corporate blog to show other people, look, there's a woman doing this job, so you can also do that. And I think we also, probably everyone on the panel plays a big role to, you know, go out there and promote that it can be completely natural to have females in logistics. The downside that we're also experiencing, and I'm not sure how all the panelists feel about it, but then you're automatically like just doing PR and you just work on your personal branding, and you know, you always get into this balancing request of, I have to grow a business. No, I can't like do all this PR and personal branding, but at the same time, otherwise not enough people will be encouraged to join logistics, because they need these role models. So it's certainly a very difficult balance to do sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So just being conscious of time, we have about 10 minutes left on the call. I would love to get in the Q&A section of this webinar. So we had 2 questions that came in before the call, and obviously we have a few questions that are coming in as we were going through. So first question that came in earlier is, which supply chain end-to-end solutions are your favorite ones and why? Dr. Hanane, I think we can start with you, please, if possible.
It's quite hard question for me to answer for the simple reason, as a standards developer leading many initiatives, I have to be neutral. So I'll skip that question for now.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
May?
Well, I think the excitement of the whole thing is the mess of it all, right? Like, how do you orchestrate a supply chain end to end? I think that's what excited me to join the industry, and that's still what is what is exciting for me to continue to solve this, decades-long problem statement since the beginning of time, where we have what we call now a logistics network, compounded by the current situation with the pandemic, with trade wars, and all sorts of different external impacts to the supply chain. And the beautiful thing about supply chain these days are companies like Cat and Dana, coming along with giving us a glimpse of what it can be, and not to be satisfied and deal with what it is today. So every day I'm having conversations with guys who's been in this business for 50 years, talking about how that's what it has been and we'll have to deal with it, to what it could be, and using technology and new ways of doing business to really change the mindset of the people around me to test new ideas. So it's really that the whole thing that's really cool to be part of.
Dana?
Yeah, I think we would be bad founders if we wouldn't say that we're excited about what we're building. That's the whole point of it. So I'm going to admit that. But in addition to also what May said, a lot of people are talking about, does the space consolidate under like giants, like the corporate giants, or Amazon, Alibaba, and all these players. But I think at the same time we see a lot of specialization, and I think that's a really cool development to see people going very deep and being extremely good in what they do. And once this is happening, and I think it's a very interesting development that I believe in personally, you need integrators. So just like May said, you need to be as good as you can. For that, I think you need to work with best-in-class solutions. But if you do that, then you have to bring them together. And this like integrators, integration layers, people pulling data out of all different areas, orchestrating it, helping with the decision-making. For me, that's the most exciting space in logistics at the moment. And yeah, things are getting just more complex. And I think the more we can solve this, the better we help everyone.
Kat, I'm going to take a guess at what your answer might be.
No, well, like Dana said, it's very hard to not just say me, like an us. It's us founders, we have to be 100%, 200% into our business and what we do. However, what I love about the supply chain from end to end, let's say, is the fact that we're not just limited to ourselves. We are very open to bringing in competition, even, as well as other products that are not owned by us or who are not built by us. that are, you know, that can help amplify what we're trying to do. And I think as long as we stay open to stuff like that and we work together in collaboration, we can actually solve faster, better, improve the technology, move in the direction that all the giants want us to move, as well as move the, you know, the startups that are going in that direction too. So I'm in favor of everyone actually kind of, you know, adding technology. I think it's a question of like, let's do technology, let's add more to it, and see what happens.
Okay, so next question came from one of the attendees. Could you please provide tips related to how to enhance women participation in senior leadership roles, especially when this is not a management priority? May, would you like to take that one?
Just get out there. I mean, in my I would just directly say, you know, like you have to be thick-skinned often. Get out there. You know, if you're not out there and if you're not kind of showing what your capabilities are and what you can do, no one's gonna hear you and no one's gonna represent you. So you need to make the effort and allow yourselves to be heard, and allow the business leader in your organization, because everyone's trying to run a business here, right? And companies, business leaders, I believe firmly, at least from the experience that I've had, are there to look for people with the talents to deliver on the results that they need to make the business a success. And they can only see you if you show yourself. And I think a lot of times people are just shy to position themselves in a positive way to get that to get that role or the next promotion that you're looking for. And if you've done all that and it still doesn't work, and you truly believe that there's a gender gap in that organization that you are in, get out, you know, find one that values you, or start your own thing, like what the ladies here have done. So I think, you know, show up for yourself, decide what you want out of your career, and come up with your own journey that works best for you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Dr. Hanane?
That's really good advice. Either it's the good fit and you feel comfortable with that organization's ethics. You stay, you work, you show how capable and how talented and how determined you are. Otherwise, just move on. That's, I think, very, very important advice given by May. I would like to highlight it's not that simple for women. I would like to highlight that we're expected to do our best with our families, relatives, at work, at school with our kids. It's not that simple balance, and we really have to work hard. So it's not that simple, it's not that easy. Even though you have a very supportive family, husband, at certain point they will tell you, yo, you are the mom, it's your role, it's you to do that. So it's not that simple. It's quite complicated. We have to work really hard. But again, I think the most important thing here to convince ourselves that we are worth it, we are capable, and we have really to give us that chance to be heard. We have to say yes to all, basically every invitation to participate, to speak. So thanks a lot, I think, by being here as well, that will give us visibility. We have to occupy more space. To be visible and become a role model for everyone in our surroundings. And definitely, I know that women are much more shy, usually, are much more worried about not being good at what they are doing, and they spend much more time questioning themselves, and even they are much more skilled than sometimes their male peers. They torture themselves. It's not just let me go and I will handle. So I think we have to be more easy on ourselves and believe truly that we deserve it, and be a bit more, how to say that, show leadership, not be shy.
Yeah.
We are worth it, we are capable, even though it's not that obvious, we have to take that space, that opportunity.
So I'm being conscious of times. It is 6:45, so I want to first thank everyone for taking the time today, especially the panelists, the attendees as well. So we'll do our best to back to your questions, but I want to take this time and opportunity to let everyone in the panelists to share how they can be contacted, a little bit about their company. So Dana, would you like to take that start that off if possible?
Sorry, yeah, absolutely. You said share a little bit about the company.
Yeah, how you can be reached, and also just a little bit background, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So reach me on LinkedIn. We all try to get role models out there. So I'm trying to be as active as I can while running a business. So Dana von der Heide, I think you can quite easily find me. If you think about starting your own business or you just want to join a female-led tech startup, let me know. We are growing, we are hiring across the board, and I'm looking mainly for females. Maybe just very quickly what Parcel Perform does, we aggregate parcel tracking data at scale. We integrated almost 700 different carriers and try to bring more transparency into the market and tell everyone where their parcels are.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Hanane?
My LinkedIn profile is up to date as well. Feel free to reach out. I do my best to answer all the requests, whether you would like to know more about standards, whether you would like just to have a little talk, a chat over coffee during this pandemic period. Feel free to reach out, please.
Thank you. Thank you. May?
Right, same thing. My LinkedIn profile is updated. I love mentoring and coaching women who are interested to embark in their career in supply chain. DHL Consulting is actively hiring females, data scientists, consultant specialists, as well as management consultants. Remember, I do have a target, so help me get there. Reach out, and I'll be happy to discuss with anyone who's interested in this space.
Thank you very much, May. Good luck on that target. And Kat?
You can reach me on LinkedIn. I am very slow at answering. I do apologize. But you can also reach me on my email, which is Katherina.Lacey@Quincus.com. So quite easy. You can look at the screen. I'm much more active in responding there. Also, we are hiring across the board as well, from especially developers. If you're a female coder, let us know. And also reach out to James, send your resumes. He'll happily to look it over. But yeah, and I wanted to thank everybody for attending and being part of this. It's awesome to see women come together, as well as want to be part of seeing us discuss this type of stuff. It's not every day that we get to do that.
Absolutely. Okay, so thank you, everyone. It was really great getting to know a little bit about everybody, and also thank you to the attendees and panelists. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and thank you for joining Quincus Talks.
Happy Women's Day, and thank you for the opportunity.
See you,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.